Stove here with another episode of Know Your Enemy, the series that shows you what you can expect piloting or fighting against a certain ship in the current version of the PU. On today's episode, we will be talking about a ship that a lot of people have requested, the Origin 325A. Now I know it's being reworked in 3.5, but then again, so is the entire flight model. So I'll eventually have to update all of the ships I have covered in the series anyway, so with that mindset, I went ahead and made a Know Your Enemy series for the 325A before the rework, because there's still some time left before the patch goes live, and some of you have been asking to see this ship and what it can do in combat in the current version of the PU, so let's begin. The 325A is designed to be more of a multi-purpose light fighter that comes with everything a pilot needs to survive in space. It comes equipped with a bed and a small cargo bay of 2 SCU, which in the rework is stated to be a few SCU larger. This gives the 325A an edge on other pure light fighters and a few more options for the pilot in the PU as far as missions and trade runs are concerned. Coming in at 23 meters in length, it's also one of the larger fighters in the game. It has a sleek futuristic design with a shape that looks like a bullet with wings and stays true to this design performance-wise. The 325A comes stock with one size 4 gimbaled size 3 OmniSky laser cannon on the nose and 2 size 3 gimbaled size 2 OmniSky laser cannons on the wings, giving the pilot a lot of loadout options to work with. For missiles, it comes stock with 4 size 2 Dominators. There are some downsides. In combat, the wings can be shot off taking a hard point with them on each side, and you also only have 10 of each countermeasure, so you'll want to use them wisely. The latter will also kill you if you stand too close when it's lowering, so watch out for that. In the Arrow video, we talked about the concept that if a ship can control range, it can control the fight. The Arrow does this with a burst of acceleration, but has the same top speed as fighters like the Sabre and the Scythe at 1,235 meters a second. The 325A controls the fight with a top speed of 1,315 meters a second. This gives the 325A pilot an edge over top fighters like the Sabre, Scythe, and Glaive that other fighters do not have. As a 325A pilot, this speed gives you the freedom of choice and many options when it comes to combat. You can decide when to engage or simply not to engage at all. You can egress from fights when things go sour or fights you don't want to take with ease. It's very easy to divide and conquer by kiting with the 325A, and because of this I became very confident in my ability to engage multiple targets and then egress the fight when things went south. I do want to take the time to mention I have started to stream on Twitch. I mainly work on the Know Your Enemy series and in-depth combat analysis after good fights or a loss. I'm also going to be starting a new series on stream where the viewer can ask to see a certain ship flown in combat with a loadout of their choosing. You spawn it and I'll fly it. So be sure to click the Twitch link in the description below and hit the follow button so you don't miss that. And as always, if you like these videos, please like and subscribe to get the latest releases. Also, not all fights are able to be put into these videos, so if you want to see more fights in a particular ship, be sure to check out the stream VODs and clip. I can't wait to show you guys some of the combat footage I got with the 325A, so let's take a look at Hardpoint to show you the stats, modules, and the best way to set up the 325A, and then we'll get to that footage. Okay, here we are in Hardpoint looking at the Origin 325A, and the first thing we're going to talk about is the hardpoints themselves. Now the 325A is kind of unique because you can put any gimbal or fixed weapon on these mounts, or the nose mount I should say, so it makes it really easy to triple up on any weapon you want, whether it be size 2 for gimbals or size 3 fixed. You can even put a size 4 fixed on the nose with 2 size 3 fixed, of course, on the wings, but that's special because it does give you 1529 burst DPS, and that's special of course because that puts you right up there with the Sabre at 1653 with 4 OmniSkies, okay? And that's a special DPS mark as we talked about in the Arrow video. For those of you who haven't watched that or seen that, I recommend you do check out the Arrow video because I do go over certain burst DPS points, and this is one of them. So when you get close to it like this in the 325A, it's actually a very, very, very good thing, and it puts you on par with a lot of ships. And also, veteran pilots don't expect it as much when they see a 325A or an Avenger series with this kind of size 4 nose setup with the 2 3s, okay? So you can catch people off guard in this setup, and again, your burst DPS is almost that of a Sabre with 4 Omnis, so you are very, very competitive with this setup. Now, the downside to this setup is that this weapon right here is going to shoot slower than these two, okay? And the distance that it goes and the projectile speed is a little bit different. So this at close range is going to throw off your pip, and it's going to split the pips in two. Now this isn't really a big deal, the splitting, as them firing not at the same time. So what you're going to want to do is overheat this one and leave this overheated, okay, or unheated, I should say. But you're going to overheat the big one so it shoots a little bit quicker, and you're also going to want to have a little bit of trigger discipline and pulse the shots from 1 to 2 seconds in between, okay? So this doesn't overheat as much, because this will start firing slower and you're going to end up missing with this, and you're going to, because these are going to shoot first, okay? And this is going to lag behind, and that defeats the whole purpose of putting this on in the first place. So you're going to want to have some good trigger control with this setup and make sure you're shooting all 3 of these at the same time. Of course, group them all into one button, but you're going to want to make sure you're shooting them all at the same time, of course, okay? Another way to do it, of course, is to go ahead and just drop it down to a size 3, all right, and just put all size 3 fixed on there. Now, this will put you at the minimum burst DPS point that you want, all right, but you're not going to have those pip problems, and you're not going to have to worry about them firing at different times, okay? So that's 2 setups that I recommend you try and see what works well for you before you proclaim one as the best and just go with that. So this is something to try out for yourself and see if you like it, okay? Because sometimes this size 4 can interrupt things, and again, this is an expensive setup, so it's not something you want to, you know, take a lot of risk with and lose a lot, because this is like 35,000 credits right here, okay? So moving along, we do have the normal speed of 270, which is great compared to other ships that are top tier, I should say. 275 on the Saber, 255 on the Glaive, which is really, really slow, and then 285 on the Scythe, okay? So you're right up there in top speed, non-afterburner with the best ships. Now, what's really special is you do have a major, major advantage here with this afterburner speed at 1315. And again, if you look at the Saber at 1235, the Glaive at 1230, and the Vandal Scythe at 1240, what this gives you is a massive advantage, because you can literally outrun these ships if you do get engaged by them and don't want to fight them. Or in a fight, you can pull range on them. And again, the 325A makes it very, very easy to pull tactics like this. It's a boom and zoom fighter, and the way I would recommend trying to fight with it, especially if you have this big size 4 cannon on it, is make a couple of boom and zoom passes at somebody to knock down their shields and get their armor low or in the red, and then go ahead and go into that turn fight to go ahead and finish them off, okay? You can't really boom and zoom completely, because you're going to need a lot of hits on that, and the shields are going to regen faster than you can make another pass. So you're going to want to make these shots count on the boom and zoom, and you're going to want to whittle these opponents down over time and then go in for the kill. And if you do this, it's very frustrating for veteran pilots, and you can kind of put the fight on your terms instead of theirs, and no one really likes that. And it really, really does frustrate veteran pilots because of this top speed. Because again, most of the ships that veteran pilots like to fly in the verse, like the Scythe or the Saber, they just simply can't catch this ship if you want to run away. Okay, so that's your major, major advantage in this ship, is this right here. You want to live and die by this. This is your lifeblood, so never take this for granted. Alright, the yaw, the roll, and the pitch rates are great. Don't worry about that. The ship is very, very good in that aspect. In a turn fight, you will kind of black out a lot now. That's one thing I did find with this ship. You do kind of black out a lot in some turn fights, because you can pull some high Gs, even with G-Safe on. So again, that's something you're going to have to watch out for. The acceleration is good on this ship, so it's not something you have to worry about, but again, you're going to have to watch your blackouts and redouts in this ship a little bit more than the average ship, because of just how it is. Okay, it's a little bit bigger. It just feels like it puts the pilot through more, even more so than an Arrow at times, because again, you're going to want to pull some Gs to try to get out of a fight or something and hit that afterburner and boost, and that's when you kind of red out in this ship more often than not, or blackout. So the hit points are actually really good at 6,023, and they're actually kind of split up in the right places. So if you come over here and look at the database, you can see that the body, and now this is actually the front, and if you look at the 325A from the side, it's actually kind of split diagonal down the middle, and this is what the body is. It's the front where the cockpit is, okay? So it doesn't have a nose section like most ships do. Most ships have like a body and a nose, and if the nose is destroyed or the body is destroyed, the ship is destroyed. Well, the body on this ship has 1,280. The back section is actually the tail, okay? And that's the back section where it's split in half, and this has 2,400, and this is your strongest point. Okay, so in a fight, you're really going to want to monitor where your ship is getting red, okay, in the front or the back. And if it's getting red in the front, you're going to want to leave the fight right away because this is your weakest point. In the back, again, you're going to have some more play, but again, you're going to watch it into that deep red because that's when, again, you're about to get destroyed and it's going to explode. And of course, the wings are pretty low at around 400, 280, and 320, okay? So just know that really you got to watch for your nose in the front portion of your ship in combat, and if that starts to red, you really need to leave. And of course, if you're missing a wing or two, you're missing a hard point, so you need to leave as well. So that's where this ship is really vulnerable, and that's kind of the breakdown on the HP of the 325A. So it says 6,000 right here, but really that 1,200 in the front and that 2,400 in the back is what you really want to worry about, okay? And that's okay. As for shields, you do have 3,448 HP. These can be upgraded, and again, if you have the money, it's encouraged to. If you have them in inventory, it's encouraged to go ahead and upgrade it just for the cooling factor and the less power usage, okay? And you can get a little bit more HP at 1,800 each. So it's always encouraged to do, but it's not required on this ship. Power, it's okay on power. Now, a lot of times what I've found on this ship is that you do overheat when using the afterburner and the boost in stressful situations. So this right here, this 138 cooling on this, goes a long way if you upgrade it to something like a Sunflare or a Starheart to get that down to 58, okay? And of course, you get more power anyways, so that's always a great thing. But the cooling is really what you want to upgrade on this ship if you're thinking about upgrading. Now that said, I do run this ship stock on all the video footage as far as modules are concerned, so I did not upgrade any of this at all when I fought with the 325A in the PU. So you'll get to see what stock looks like, and you'll get to see that overheating. So again, overheat or changing this to something like a Starheart or a Sunflare to get that the cooling lower, okay? And the changing out the coolers themselves really do go a long way in this ship over time. And of course, it does have that 2 SCU cargo size. This makes for, you know, it's fun because you can kill people at Jump Town, or you know, kill people that are keeping people from doing Jump Town, and then go do a Widow run yourself. Again, in the remake, this is supposed to be a lot higher, maybe around 5 as I heard, which is great. That's actually a lot of money as far as Widow is concerned. And if it is 5, that's just kind of like an upgrade from the Titan, in my opinion, if you want a more combat-orientated multi-purpose ship, whereas the Titan really isn't a combat ship, you know. So there's something there to think about too when you want to upgrade a ship. If you want something more combat orientated, I would definitely move towards the 325A, and you want like something like a bed and a cargo area. But if you're not worried about combat at all, you know, stick with the Titan. It has a little bit more cargo space, right? Or you might want to hit the 300 series, because I heard that's actually going to get a boost up to like 8 or 10 SCU. So the 300 series itself, the 300i, I believe it's called. So something you want to look into there maybe. All right, so just consider that. And that pretty much does it for Hardpoint itself. And what we're going to do now is we're going to get into some combat footage. So I hope you guys enjoy this. And again, I am going to be streaming on Twitch. And if you like this stuff, please like and subscribe, guys. The links are below in the description. And I hope you enjoy. Thank you. In this clip, we're going to showcase how the 325A can actually break from a fight if need be. In this case, I'm jumped by a stealth glaive at Spaceport Karaya. So what I'm going to do here is I do turn around to try to identify my enemy after I get hit, and I do see that it's a glaive. And after evaluating myself, I see that I lost a wing, which is -1 hard point. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of this fight. And what I'm doing here is just trying to get up to my top speed, because I know that he can't match my top speed. And then you'll see in the range on the top right corner is slowly gaining, and what I'm looking for is just to break around 10,000 meters, and then I'm going to try to warp away and go repair. Okay, and we're going to fight this glaive later in a second, because again, I feel as though I can take a glaive in the 325A, especially with my setup that I have currently. So all I need to do is repair, and then we're going to try to get him to come back and fight us again. Alright, here we are, we've repaired, and the glaive is kind of stalking us. He followed us to repair, and I noticed that he's watching me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to charge up my warp, and instead of warping to Selen, I'm going to warp to the Comrade next to Selen. Now I'm doing this, and I'm picking this on purpose because the 2 points are very close together, so I'm hoping that if he's with somebody, they'll have to split up and pick one or the other, and that'll give me a 1v1 fight if indeed he does have a friend. Now he doesn't have a friend, but again, I'm warping to the Comrade just to be safe here, because usually what'll happen is people will go to different directions and they'll shotgun to different locations if they think that somebody went to a location and they can't actually pinpoint it between one or a couple nearby. So this is a good technique to use if you're trying to break from somebody, just to warp to a location that's kind of near another and just kind of wait or use it as an escape. In this case, I am hoping that he does eventually figure out that I warped to the Comrade and not Selen, because I figured that he warped to Selen first, which he does do because he takes so long to get here, but he does eventually warp into the Comrade to come find me. And I don't know what the glitches are that you're seeing, these little flashes. I think that this is caused by the latest drivers for NVIDIA, and I apologize for that. I'm trying to fix that, but it seems to have come about with the latest drivers for NVIDIA, these like weird flashes that are occurring. So I do apologize, but that's out of my control right now. So we do get the glaive warp in on us here, and so now we're going to go ahead and get into the fight. And with glaives and scythe, my philosophy is to just overwhelm them immediately with missiles and try to get some good hits. And what we're trying to accomplish here is to pick off one of the wings of the glaive of the scythe, and then you can have an even fight, because that'll take him down to around 1200 DPS. And I think right there we do get a wing explosion. But again, he kind of lined up for us, and he kind of goes into this weird flat spin. So we're able to finish him off with a couple of clean hits and not have to worry about it. Now, I was streaming and a viewer came on and said he wanted to fight, so we set up a nice 1v1 over on Selen. And his name is Scalpel. And this fight is going to showcase what it's like to fight a really good pilot in Star Citizen. And I want you to watch and keep your eye on the pip and how he keeps it moving around, okay? I call this effect the bobble in Star Citizen. He keeps the pip from going in a straight line and keeping me from finding a line of rest. Like right here, I think I'm going to get a line of rest, and he's going to quickly switch position and roll in and out of it. So this is very good technique he's showing to keep from me finding my good rest point where I can line up and have my crosshair meet that pip. Because again, I like to let the pip run into my crosshair, and he's not giving that line of rest to let that happen. So it's really, really hard to track this target, and he's making it really, really difficult to hit him at the same time. So he's kind of putting me into a state where I'm more focused on getting a good line of rest and aiming rather than I am trying to defend these shots coming in. But again, I'm also kind of rolling in and tucking my wing down to make sure that I am tough to hit. And I'm not using missiles here, by the way, because this is a 1v1. Normally I would just shoot missiles, and it would be a different story, I think. But I do kind of look like, or look at it as like using potions in another MMO or something like that in a 1v1. So we're refraining, both of us were refraining from using missiles here in this fight. So we're just trying to have a good 1v1. And one thing you're going to want to watch out for is in these close bobble fights is when somebody comes into range right there at around 300 meters or less. You really have to be careful, because that's when you're most vulnerable in a bobble fight, and they can line up a nice shot and kill you.